Hello and welcome to Wednesday Live with Evie. This is number 63, and today's topic is how many projects and goals are too many projects to have going on? So if you are here, whether you're live or you're on the recording, say hello in the comments. I'm going to adjust myself slightly in my seat. There we go. That feels better. So let me know in the comments too, in addition to saying hi, how many projects do you like having going on at once? So how many active big projects are you moving forward at any one time? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So for those of you, before we run into that, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Evie Burke, and I work with entrepreneurs and I help them take their productivity to a new level. So that at the end of the day, they don't have to worry about what didn't get done that day or what needs to get done the next day, but instead they can be just completely and fully present with the people that they choose to spend their off hours with. Hey, Jerry Ann. Yes, you're home and I'm live. Yeah. So anyway, so today we're talking about how many projects and goals is too many. And I'm wondering if you have run into this person, whether you're out networking or in the social media world, where you meet somebody that seems to just have like 10 big things going on at once or more, and you're so impressed by them because they have so much going on. But then you don't really hear from them again. You don't really hear about those projects anymore, and you just maybe figure they're off your radar, or it's because they had too much going on and nothing really got taken off, right? Nothing really went moving in the direction that they wanted it to go. Or maybe you do see them later and they're only doing one or two things and they're really focusing on those because they've realized that maybe moving that many big projects forward at once is a little frustrating, a little overwhelming. So I know for me, there are always lots of things I want to be doing. There's lots of programs that I want to take. There's lots of program ideas that are usually floating around in my head, things that I want to offer or talk about. There's people I want to work with. And like I said, there's just all of these things that I want to be doing. And I have a later section in my notebook. I actually have two later sections. One later section is for the programs, the projects that I want to work on or ideas that I have that I want to maybe flesh out a little bit and decide if I want to do something with them, but they're not things that I'm ready to devote time to now. And then I have another later section that are the people in the programs that I'm interested in, that I want to experience or things I want to do later, that now is just not a good time. And I know I've shared videos in the past around how to decide what programs you want to participate in or take on now, like how to discern that. So you can look back in the past videos to see those if that's something that you're interested in. But generally, I don't have any more than two biggish programs going on at a time, and I'm generally not in any program where I'm learning new things to implement, not in more than one thing. And sometimes that thing that I'm learning is kind of one of my big projects because it involves doing marketing in a different way or learning how to do something that I'm going to be implementing right away. And I know that when I started the Unnamed Productivity Club a couple of months ago, that I didn't really have any other big programs or projects or things going on just because I knew I needed to focus my time on that, my time and my energy on getting that up and running and figuring out how I wanted to run things on the back end in a way that really worked for me. And then once I got that up and running and had done it for a little bit, I was like, okay, this is the system, this is the process that works for me, and this is how I'm going to do it. But it took a good month for me to really play with that and figure out what worked for me and what didn't. And from the people in the program, from their perspective, they probably didn't notice any difference. It was all things I was doing in the back end. Their experience was the same, but it was the things that I was doing to give them that experience and how it made it easier for me to provide that service or that experience for them. And I will admit that part of only focusing on one or two bigger projects at a time is part of just how I best work, because I only have so much energy to devote to a new thing. So if I have too many new or too many big projects happening at once, then I run out of energy for everything faster. So, I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. So at any one time, I only focus on 1 to 3 projects at a time. And I noticed, Jerry Ann, that you said you have about 5 projects, big things going on at a time. And is that a number where you feel really comfortable, like 5 is a good number for you? Or is 5 a number where you're running around a lot and maybe feeling a little out of sorts? Like, how does 5 feel for you? So, one of the reasons that I generally suggest to focus, 5 is her max. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So, hey, Mary. So one of the reasons for myself, I focus on 1 to 3 projects. Yeah, 3 is your sweet spot. Yeah. 3 is the max for me. But again, different people work different ways. I don't know that there's been any studies on this, but Jerry Ann, correct me if I'm wrong. Are you more of an extrovert or an introvert? Do you know? I'm sure you know. But my inkling is that introverts tend to want to focus on fewer things at once, while extroverts have more different type of time and attention. Oh, she is an introvert. Depends on how deep the project goes. Strong introvert. Okay, so this might be more working style than introversion or extroversion. So I'll not put that out there then. I know for myself 3 is about my max, but that's how I work. So I would definitely say generally for people out there, 5 is probably going to be the max for people in general. And the example that I have for this is, let's say you have 10 hours a week to devote solely to your big projects. And that's actually a pretty decent amount of time given the other things that we generally have going on in our business, like delivering the services that we sell, networking, follow-up, all of those things that marketing, all of those things that go into us having a successful business. Having 10 hours solely to move, admin and desk work, absolutely. Having those 10 hours, so basically 2 hours a day, to just focus on our big projects or our big goals is generally a decent amount of time. So let's say you have 7 big projects that you're trying to work on at any time. And let's say that each project from start to finish is going to take about 15 hours. So if you're working on them all at once, you're going to average about 1 hour 25 on each of them, in that week period with that 10 hours. And if you continue, working 1 hour 25 minutes on each of those 7 projects each week, you'll get them all completed all at once in about 11 weeks. And that's, about 3 months, plus or take. What was that number? The math that I'm doing for the projects. Another thing, I'm going to back up just a little bit too, and I'll say this part again, the part I just said. So you had mentioned that typically your projects will be different focuses. So like for me, getting the Unnamed Productivity Club up and running and figuring out how that works, like that was a project for me. So now it's more maintenance. Like these are the maintenance tasks I need to do, and it requires less mental energy because I know what it is that needs to happen. So it's not really a project as much as maintenance. Like this is something that happens every week or every month as part of this program. So I would consider bookkeeping, admin, desk work, some of those things that we do over and over again. I wouldn't consider those big projects as much as part of running the business. So the projects are going to be new things that you're doing. So, you know, if graphics work, you mentioned that. So if there's a new graphic that you're working on that isn't something that you normally do, like I do graphics for Wednesday Lives with Evie every week, but you know, there's that template, I fill it out, in Canva, I publish it to create the JPEG or whatever it is that it creates. And that's not so much of a project as I've already done like the heavy work of it. So now it's just part of the process, where when I was creating some of the marketing materials for the upcoming Take Your Productivity to a New Level, that was a project. Like that was figuring out, okay, what do I like about what I did before? What images need to change? What layouts need to change? Okay, yeah, new production. So I did just want to, for everybody else, just kind of mention that so that they're not thinking, oh, well, networking is one of my big projects. Networking might be one of your big projects if you are just getting out there again and starting it new. Yeah, exactly, Jerry Ann, I agree. Once you've created that template or that process, once you have that down, it's not a project, it's just work. Yes, I completely agree with that. So going back to the example I was using of having 10 hours a week to work on your big projects. And again, you know, that's a generous amount of time. That's roughly going to end up being 2 hours a day, depending on how you work. And if you have 7 big projects that you're working on at once, and just saying that each of those projects is going to take 1 to 15 hours, and these are just numbers I made up just for the example. So if you have the 7 big projects that you want to work on, and each one's from start to finish is going to take 15 hours to do, and if you work on all of those projects at once, then you're going to average about an hour, 25 minutes a day or a week on each project. So you're going to complete all of the projects at once then at about the 11-week mark. And so that's roughly 3 months, right? But if you focus on maybe only 2 projects at a time, then you're going to have 5 hours of concentrated time each week to move one project forward, and then 5 hours, the other 5 hours to move the other one. So you're going to complete 2 projects every 3 weeks. All of them will ultimately still end up being done at the 11-week mark, but you'll have 2 of them out of your mind and completed while you are working on 2 more. So it frees up mental energy, right? Because you're not trying to remember or process or move forward 7 things at once. You're moving forward 2 things at once. So you have less mental energy trying to keep track of things, even if you're writing everything down. It's easier to get into the zone. You have more time to get in the zone because you have more dedicated time each week to work on something. And how many projects run exactly the way that we think they're going to, right? There's always something unexpected, good or bad, that pops up that we adjust for. So when we have more time each week to work on 1 or 2 projects or 3 or whatever your magic number is, then that really allows us to adjust a little more quickly, right? And the sooner sometimes we can get some of those things out there, the sooner we know what adjustments need to be made. So just to kind of break that down a little bit. 3 reasons to maybe just keep it down to that smaller number instead of 10, 7, to keep it to that 1, 2, 3-ish or 5 number is that mental energy. Even with the best of tools, trying to stay on top of where you are and what needs to be done and get back into the flow for 7 different things or 10 different things is going to take a lot of mental energy. Another reason is things change, right? Whether it's, oh, this part took longer than I expected, or I need to learn how to use this program, or I need to learn how to do this other thing, whether it's a new Facebook feature or how to do an image in Canva or whatever it is. You learn you need to do you realize you need to do something new or learn something new, so that might take some extra time. Or life happens and all of a sudden you don't have 10 hours that you were counting on that week, but you have 2 hours. So when you have a lot of projects that you're working on, suddenly you have to prioritize them and decide what one is it that you're going to be working on versus you already are only working on 1 or 2. So it's just, okay, which one do I want to work on, or how am I moving these 2 forward this week in a little different way? So that decision becomes less stressful because you're not trying to move, 7, 10 things forward. There's just 2 things that you need to choose from. And the other thing here is momentum. Generally, when we can see and feel that sense of completion about something, and we can kind of space those things out, then that's just going to give us that those endorphins, right? When we complete something, and we get that sense of completion, we get those endorphins, and it makes us feel good, and it makes us want more of that. So then we have that motivation, that energy to move forward on whatever new projects we have going on, versus waiting to complete everything at once because we're moving snail paced on a bunch of things as opposed to much faster on a couple of things. The motivation can kind of diminish. I think that's one of the reasons why, Dave Ramsey, why he talks about when you're paying off your debt to pay off the lowest, the one with the lowest debt on it first, so that you can start feeling that sense of completion, that sense of accomplishment that will motivate you to continue doing that habit, right? So those, just breaking them down just a little more succinctly, the 3 reasons are the mental energy, the second reason is the unexpected, and the third reason is motivation. So if you have a lot of things going at once and it kind of feels like you're going in 10 directions at once, maybe take a step back and look at how you might reprioritize those projects that are going on and only focus on, 3 plus or minus, what works best for you. So before I end today, though, and if anybody has any questions, whether you're on the recording or you're watching live, feel free to pop them below. And for those of you who are on the recording, I'll check up on these and respond to your question, whether in the comments or reaching out to you directly. So before I end, I have a couple of questions. So how do you decide which projects take priority? What is it about them that, helps you make that decision? And 2, how do you stay on top of your projects and what needs to get done while also getting all of the other things done that need to be done? And if these are questions that you don't have an answer to, or that you need to make an improvement in those areas, I have a program that is starting next month that is called Take Your Productivity to a New Level, and it's the 7-week productivity mastery program. And I walk you through things like goal setting in a way that really makes you think about, what do I really want to accomplish and what needs to happen to help that happen. I talk about the difference between intention and goal setting. If you want just a quick little insight into that, then maybe I can cover that next week. So let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. We cover how to stay focused, how to manage distractions, how to manage procrastination, and how to learn from the things that distract us and that we procrastinate around. I cover how to keep track of the things that you have going on so that things aren't falling through the cracks, so you know that your projects are moving forward. And most importantly, altogether, this program really teaches you how to take strategic action in your business and not just whatever's going to happen, right? So thank you, Mary, for sharing that. So Mary's on top of helping me with the links as always, so thank you. So if that's something that you're interested in, I invite you to follow the links in the comments that Mary was nice enough to share and check out that program. And if you have any questions about it, let me know, reach out to me. If you're not sure if this is the program for you, reach out and we'll chat. And I have absolutely no problem with being completely honest with somebody if it's not the program for them, because it's happened where somebody has said, here's what's going on in my business. Is this going to be helpful? And you know what? Sometimes it's not. Sometimes there's a different type of help that they need or a different coach that they need. And sometimes the program is exactly what they need. So if you have any questions about it, reach out to me. And that is it for this week's Wednesday Live with Evie. So again, this was number 63. So there is also a large, library of recordings over on the website, oneinsightcloser.com, or if you go into the video section of the Facebook page, you can see all of them there too. And, continue to learn and at your own pace in what's available there. So until next week, much love.